Welcome live to this special edition of hashtag Let's Get Louder LMF's podcast. I am your host. My name is Chase Blake. I am the Loud Miami Fan, and you can find me on all social media platforms at Loud Miami Fan. But I'm coming to you here. It is Sunday night. It is the 10th of November, 2024, and the Miami Marlins have hired a manager. Clayton McCullough is our manager, the number 17th manager of all time for our Miami Marlins. And we're going to discuss it here on hashtag Let's Get Louder LMF's podcast tonight, right now. And I, again, am your host. Welcome to the show. If you're watching this on YouTube, that's awesome. If you're listening to this podcast on Apple or Spotify, please also go to YouTube and type in hashtag Let's Get Louder, and you'll find our podcast there. This is hashtag Let's Get Louder LMF's podcast. Thank you again on all platforms. And tonight we're discussing the hire of Clayton McCullough. And I hope I'm pronouncing that right. If I'm not, eventually I will. But it's a interesting hire, we'll say, from the Miami Marlins. And you can say it was broken by people at ESPN. You can say it was broken by Fish on First, but it wasn't. It was broken by me, Loud Miami Fan. I knew of this offer days ago. Actually, 4 days ago is when my sources, which I'll never break, told me that the Miami Marlins have made an offer to a manager, and it was Clayton McCullough. I had posted that on Twitter. You could see it. It exists on X. It's not fake news. This is real news. I had it. I knew they made an offer. No one retweeted me. That's fine. But I did know that they made the offer, and they were waiting for Clayton to make a decision. And let's be real. Let's break this podcast down of how we're going to discuss this. We're going to go over who Clayton is. We're going to go over his history of the game. And we're going to go over what this hire means for the Marlins with my opinion baked in it. And you know what I want you to do after? I want you to listen to this podcast, whether it's on Spotify, whether it's on Apple, or if you're watching, and I want you to comment. I want you to rate. I want you to comment. I want you to write me on social media. I want to interact with you. I want to hear from you, the other fans, of what your thoughts are about this hire. So just first thing I wanted to do is be a little bit educated on who the hire is and what it means for the Miami Marlins. So I tried to dig in some history of Clayton, and of course that brings you to Wikipedia, so I'm going to do the right thing. No one gave me credit for breaking it out, but I'm going to do the right thing, and I'm going to credit Wikipedia for this answer. So this coming directly from there, Clayton McCullough is an American professional baseball manager. He's a former minor league baseball catcher who is now the Miami Marlins manager of baseball, MLB. He previously served for the world champion Los Angeles Dodgers as the first base coach. And that was from 2021 to 2024. Now, he played baseball at his high school in Greenville, North Carolina. He was drafted by the Seattle Mariners, 47th round of the 1998 draft. He did not sign, and then he went to college and played at East Carolina University. He played for the Pirates, that's the college, and he hit .272 with 11 home runs. Then he went back into the Major League Baseball draft, and he was drafted by Cleveland, the Indians at the time, in the 22nd round. So we went from the 47th to the 22nd round in 2022. He played in the Indians minor league system from 2005 or through 2005. So again, he was drafted in 2002, and then he played to 2005 in their system for the Burlington Indians, the Lake County Captains, and then the Kinston Indians. He played in 104 minor league games, and he had an average of 197 with one home run and 25 RBIs. So basically, he was the New York Yankees' whole team in the playoffs is what his minor league career was. And yes, I'm making a joke, but let's be real. Aaron Judge hit about 197 with 1 home run and like 2 RBI in this year's playoffs. So that's who this guy was as a player. He obviously didn't make it to the majors, and then he started a coaching career in the minor leagues through the organization of the Blue Jays until he signed with the Dodgers as a minor league field coordinator into now he was the first base coach from 2021 through 2024. Now, give the guy some credit. He is a World Series champion first base coach, and he's going from the World Series champions to the Marlins. And you got to be excited. You got to be happy for this hire, right? You got to get except I don't know much about the guy. Like I just read you his whole Wikipedia. It's basically 3 paragraphs of his career as a coach and a manager. Apparently, he lives in Jupiter, so he'll be close to the minor league facility up there. And he also will be right near home for when we start camp in just 3 months from now. So that's the guy. And again, I can't really say much about him. I've asked around the league. I've asked people who I know people and attend games and whatnot in the league. I asked them for their thoughts. And quoting, I was able to get a quote from Marlins Man. And Marlins Man, I said, Marlins Man, what do you think of this hire? And he goes, who? Like, who? Who is this guy? We don't know who he is. So, quote unquote, who was the answer there? And Marlins Man knows many in the business. You see him always traveling the ballparks. He does meet people. He builds relationships. And he did not really know anything about this guy. He may have shaken his hand once or twice. Maybe it was introduced by Miguel Rojas to him while attending a Dodgers game. But other than that, he had no relationship and he had nothing to say about this guy. I've asked other people who don't want to be quoted, and they weren't able to say anything either. So we basically hired a ghost as the new Miami Marlins manager. That's not true. I mean, the guy has 20 years experience in major leagues from being drafted in 2002 to now. So 22 years, he's a World Series champion coach. He obviously didn't have a great playing career, but as you know, catchers usually become managers. And in this case, he was a player, he was a catcher, and now he's the manager of the Miami Marlins. Some other news coming out while we're doing this, Daniel Alvarez, he's breaking this. The Marlins are close to an agreement with Pedro Guerrero as one of the hitting coaches. So now that the top guy is hired, you're going to see the other positions fill in within the next week or two. But again, Clayton McCullough is the Marlins manager. And I'm going to butcher that name. And after this word from In the Clutch, I'm going to talk about what this means for the Miami Marlins moving forward. So, InTheClutch.com is the best place to buy Major League Baseball Players Association t-shirts that are approved by the MLBPA. This means that Major League Baseball does not get a cut out of these shirts. And the shirts can say whatever the fans or the players are thinking. So if you go on their site right now, InTheClutch.com, and you type in Los Angeles Dodgers, you're going to see stuff about them being the champions on shirts. You're going to see photos of the players on shirts. If you type in New York Yankees, you're going to see Jazz Chisholm Jr. t-shirts. You're going to see Aaron Judge type t-shirts, Big G t-shirts. Wherever Juan Soto lands, you're going to see his t-shirts. And if you go to InTheClutch.com, fill your card up. Shirts are usually $30 and under, and they're great material. After taxes and shipping, it comes to like $32.50 or something like that. But I want to get that as close to $30 or under as possible. And if you use code LMF at checkout where it says, do you have a promotional code? Use code LMF, Loud Miami Fan, LMF at checkout, and I'm going to get you a discount on your entire purchase. That's my goal, to get you a discount at intheclutch.com. So go right now to intheclutch.com, type in your favorite city, type in your favorite player, and a cool shirt will pop up. It's the shirts that I'm always wearing. And in fact, if you don't want to rep a team and you want to rep this podcast, type in hashtag Let's Get Louder, and you will see the hashtag Let's Get Louder Loud Miami Fan t-shirt. The only place that I've approved to have them. So go there right now and purchase at intheclutch.com. Use code LMF at checkout. So the Miami Marlins have hired Clayton McCullough as their 17th manager. And we're going to name all the managers in order from the Miami Marlins, okay? Starting with the first ever Miami Marlins, Florida Marlins manager in Renee Latchman. Then you got Cookie Rojas, John Bowles, Jim Leland, Tony Perez, Jeff Torberg, Jack McKeon, Joe Girardi, Freddie Gonzalez, Edwin Rodriguez. And then there's Brandon Hyde, who coached them as the manager for one game. I don't know why he's on this list, but then it was reverted back to Jack McKeon until Ozzie Guillen took over the Miami Marlins. So again, in 2011, we finished with Jack McKeon as the Florida Marlins manager, moved on to Ozzie Guillen as the Miami Marlins manager. So the Miami Marlins had Ozzie Guillen, Mike Redmond, Dan Jennings. What a joke that was. Don Mattingly for a bulk of the time as Miami, and then Skip Schumacher for the last 2 years. And now you insert Clayton McCullough. And I look at this list, and I go, there's a lot of first-time managers on this list. And Clayton is fitting into that mold of Miami is not the place where you finish your career unless you're Jack McKeon and you win a World Series here. He'll be etched in stone forever. Jim Leland didn't finish his career here. He would have if they probably kept that World Championship team together, but he used a clause in his contract to bolt after 1998. So looking at this list, you have recently Joe Girardi. He was the manager of the year in the year he was the Miami Marlins manager. Freddie Gonzalez wasn't, but this was his first managerial job. Same with Edwin Rodriguez. Ozzie Guillen, of course, was a manager prior with the World Series champion, 2005 World Series champion Chicago White Sox. Mike Redmond, first-time manager. Dan Jennings should have never been manager. Don Mattingly came from the Dodgers organization, and then Skip Schumacher, first-time Major League Baseball manager. So if you look at this list, we're not a place where managers come to end their career. We're not even a place that managers really come on to prolong their career. We're a starting point for most of the managers in the history of our franchise. Again, I just went over the list, and the bulk of that list, I was a little too young to really know the history of some of these guys, like Tony Perez. I don't know if I know him as a player. I don't think he managed anywhere else, but maybe I'm wrong. I don't want to put that out there. But in the bulk of this list, we are a place that managers start their career. We're not a place where they end it. We're not a place where they come to prolong it. We're not the Rockies where you come after managing a team somewhere and now you're on the Rockies team for 10 years and then you go somewhere else to win a championship or whatnot. We're a place where we're not going to pay you a lot of money. We're not going to give you a good team to manage. We want you to be a body who listens to the top brass, who is a robot, and we want you to be called the manager. The problem with this is two of the guys that I just read off did not fit that mold, except for being first-time managers, and that was Joe Girardi, who had a personality, and Skip Schumacher, who has a great personality. And I'm going to say something about Skip Schumacher here, and I hope he hears it. So, Skip, I hope this gets played for you by someone knowing that you follow me on X and I follow you, there's a mutual respect there. We're not friends, unfortunately, but you know that I do respect you. Skip Schumacher came into the Miami Marlins organization. He was a late hire. He wasn't their first choice, but he was the only choice when it came down to it. Kim In brought him in because she liked the interview, and she had to sell Skip onto the ownership group. It was 2 years with an option for a third, which if I was this team, he'd still be the manager here. If I owned the team, he'd still be the manager here, but he's not. That's neither here nor there. But Joe Girardi had a personality. He got axed after 1 year because he spoke up against the owner at the time. I basically told him, sit down and be an owner. Skip Schumacher earned the respect of the fans, earned the respect of the players from day one, because he said, I'm going to hold this team accountable. And his whole tenure here, the 2 years that Skip Schumacher was here, was all about accountability for the Miami Marlins team. That's what I liked about Skip. It was different than the previous regime under Don Mattingly. It was different. Don Mattingly was an old school type coach. We can all agree that. Old school type manager. He knew how to, he didn't come here to manage young people. He didn't come here thinking he was going to manage a minor league team. He didn't come here knowing about the sale of the franchise. It was a holdover, but he didn't come knowing about the sale of the franchise. He was supposed to bring this team, after coaching the Dodgers in a couple playoff series, he was supposed to bring this team to the next level. He was supposed to be able to coach veterans, not rookies. He was supposed to be able to coach veterans to the next step. The guys who came in here to work with Ozuna and Stanton and Jose Fernandez, and all the pitching that they brought in here, all the egos that they brought in. Don Mattingly was supposed to manage them up. Unfortunately, too many injuries happened. And then they destroy that team. They trade everybody away. Unfortunately, Jose dies after the fact. They trade everybody away. And Mattingly then stayed on 2020, 2021, 2019, 2021, 2022, then gets axed. And it was time because the team was dull. The team was old. Don Mattingly is an old school coach. He's not going to bring the oomph. He's not Skip Schumacher. And I was once told, because I used to really not speak well of Don Mattingly. As a person, he's great. As a human, he's great. As a baseball coach, manager, I didn't like it. I didn't like looking in the dugout and seeing no energy. So Skip Schumacher comes in and brings this energy to the team. I'm holding you accountable. And it didn't matter if you were a rookie or if you had played in the game for 15 years. He treated you the same, with respect, and he expected you to play the best game of baseball you can. And if you didn't, he held you accountable. Look at Jesus Sanchez. For example, he held Jesus Sanchez accountable. Multiple times he would bench him for dropping a ball or being lazy in the outfield, not running to first. He held him accountable. Jazz Chisholm Jr., firecracker, loved Jazz and his personality. Skip Schumacher held him accountable. He said, look, you can't continue to argue balls and strikes. That's my job. Let me manage. Let me get thrown out. We need you on the field, Jazz. He taught Jazz how to respect the game a little bit more. And I think Jazz would agree with that. I think Jazz enjoyed the accountability. And then look how good Jazz did on the Yankees. There was no personality fights. He went there to try to win a World Series, and he almost did. 2 games away from winning a World Series. Jazz Chisholm Jr. hit a home run in the World Series. That's pretty darn cool. Moving back to the manager talk. So Skip's gone. And now you bring in a guy from that same organization that you hired Don Mattingly from. Kind of the same regime. And now Mattingly, we just said that McCullough didn't join the Dodgers until 2021. Mattingly was long gone. But the current manager was under Mattingly, if I'm correct there. He was part of Mattingly's team. So that means that lineage line falls under. He just coached with Miguel Rojas. Does that mean he has that personality of Miguel Rojas again? Is that what we're getting in our dugout again? The lame baseball first, no fun. I'm going to keep this strict kind of clubhouse that Mattingly had. The one that had separations where players didn't talk to other players, where the Latinos and Hispanics didn't talk to the non-Hispanic players. I don't want that in the clubhouse. I want the Skip Schumacher type clubhouse, the one that everybody seems to gel together. You don't have to like each other, but you got to be brothers. For 7 months out of the year, you got to be accountable to each other, to the team. And I don't know anything about this new manager that can say one way or the other, what's he going to be? We knew when Joe Girardi became the manager of the Marlins in the mid-thousands. We knew Joe Girardi had a personality. I mean, he had been in the game so long. He was a player. They knew that. I don't know anything about this guy. And I'd like to hear. I'd like to be told stuff about it. I'd like to be able to have a blank book and be able to color in this book with what I'm expecting. What are my expectations? Because I knew what my expectations were of Skip Schumacher because he laid them out right away. He said, I'm all about accountability. 2023, the Miami Marlins were held accountable. They went to the playoffs. 2024, injuries killed our year. No excuses for the trades and the breakout of the team mid-season. But let's be real, when 6 of your starting 9 rotation guys between major and minor leagues get injured, you're not going to have a good season. And it showed that right away when they relied on the AJ Pucks, who obviously couldn't get it in the head to be a starter. Great out of the bullpen, not good at starting. Ryan Weathers, it took a couple games. Jesus Luzardo was the ace of the staff last year. Injuries happened, but even before the injuries, he wasn't really pitching that well. Sandy's back this year. Yuri's gonna be back this year. I fully expect Sandy Alcantara to be traded. Not before the season. They've already announced that he's not. But during the season, I fully expect him to be gone. They don't want to be paying him $17.3 million when your team's going to lose 90 plus games. Sorry to tell you that. And I'd be happy for him if he goes and competes, just like I was happy for Jazz last year. I was cheering for Jazz so much over the last 2 months, I ended up having to cheer for the Yankees, which made me want to throw up. I'll still cheer for Jazz, but I'm never rooting for the Yankees to win again. Until they make the World Series next year, and I got to see Jazz hoist that trophy, which I can't wait to do. But if you're the Marlins and you're Clayton McCullough, why even accept this job? Except it's 1 of 30. That's why. Because just like I said when Kimming left, because she wanted to leave, because she wanted to be a Pobo, which she never got. She wasn't that great at being a GM. I could say that a million times. But she left a job that is 1 of 30. And she doesn't have that job anymore. You hear what I'm saying? You get a baseball GM job. It's 1 of 30. This is a managerial job. It's 1 of 30. Chances are he'll be brought to the All-Star game from the Dodgers manager, as he'll coach the National League. He'll be a guest of him. He'll come in as a coach. And that'll be cool. Marlins represented there and whoever all-stars are on the field. But who is this guy? And why is he accepting this job? Except it's 1 of 30. Because we see where the team's direction is going. It's going to be cheap, 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 cheap. I was just talking to Marlins man. He wants them, or thinks a good signing would be Alex Bregman. No, they're not signing a free agent like that. That's not what this team does. It's not what the Rays do. All right, we have Xavier Edwards. Like to see his personality out. Jesus Sanchez is still here, although I believe he'll be traded. Um, Congratulations are in order for Jake Berger and Ashlyn Berger and Brooks Berger for the birth of their beautiful daughter. Congrats to the Berger family. He's still here as of now. Connor Norby is the future of this team for the next 5 years. I can't wait to meet Connor Norby. Kyle Stowers, we'll see if he can hit from the beginning of the season. Jonah Bride. But this team's not going out and signing. So if you're Clayton McCullough, I'm just going to call him Macaulay Culkin. There you go. If you're Clayton, you're accepting this job because it's one of 30. But what type of manager are you going to be? Are you just going to be the yes man, the robot in there? I want to see personality. I love Skip for that. And I'm going to compare you to Skip because Skip set a bar here in Miami. Don Mattingly had a very low bar. It was respectable. Don Mattingly, the longest tenured Marlins manager ever. Most Marlins wins, most Marlins losses. He was here. He served his purpose. He probably overstayed his welcome. Skip Schumacher left too early, but he set a bar. And that bar was accountability bar. I don't care if you've been on the field again for 1 day or 1,000 days. You're going to be accountable to helping this team win. We may not be that good. We may not win any games, but we're going to play every game and be in every game. And for the most part, that's the bar that was set. So is Clayton McCullough going to set it like that? That's what I'm interested in seeing. Because I don't know who this guy is. Love to meet him. If I could get an interview with him on hashtag Let's Get Louder, that'd be great. Doubt it will happen. But who is this guy and what type of manager will he be? Who's he going to bring to fill the shoes? We've already lost all our coaches. They're in other teams. Congrats to Skip. Congrats to Pipe for being on the Rangers now. Congrats to John Jay for going back to his home of the St. Louis Cardinals. Marlins cleared house. Need a new pitching coach too. Mel Stoudemire Jr. Still getting paid. Don't know where he's going to be coaching. I don't know anybody anymore. As a fan, that hurts. This is from a fan perspective here. It is like a brand new team is here. And it makes me sad because I built so many relationships with the former Marlins regimes. Even before Skip, I had built it with some of the staff. And they're gone. Mel, gone. Pipe, gone. Skip, gone. Jazz, gone. DLC, gone for nothing. That hurts me. As a fan, that hurts me because I liked going to the ballpark, waving to the players, and knowing that they knew I was there to cheer for them. Sandy's still here. Jesus Luzardo's still here. They'll know me. Yuri, of course, will know me. But Jake Berger, Dane Myers. But besides these guys, it's like going to a new city, a new franchise for the first time ever. For me. Clayton McCullough, I want to know what you're bringing to this team. I want to hear your press conference, and I want you to please use that word accountability because there's a bar set for accountability. I don't want you to be a yes man. I don't want to hear yes, yes, yes. I want to hear we can be better. The team played well. They can play better. I'm going to get them to play better. I want you to succeed down here. I am sick of being a starting point for managers to start a great coaching career. Joe Girardi is a World Series champion after leaving the Marlins. Jim Leyland went to 2 more World Series or 3 more World Series after leaving the Marlins. Probably one of the best coaches in Tigers history, managers in Tigers history. Freddie Gonzalez coached on the Atlanta team. I think he was there when they won the World Series. I want to be a place where a coach stays and is respected, even if it's like Colorado, where they don't win. At least they have the lineage of managers that are respectability. The Bud Blacks who stay there for years and years. Whether the team wins or loses, you know who's going to be leading the ship, who's going to be driving the ship. And we lost a skipper. Sorry for the pun, Skip. And now we have Clayton McCullough to be that captain. And I hope he's a vocal captain. I hope he brings energy. I feed them my energy, and I feed off the energy of the players gelling well and playing well. I look forward, and I'm giving this guy a blank canvas because I don't know who he is. I read you his Wikipedia earlier in the show. I can't determine what type of manager, what type of personality from that. We're going to have to meet the guy. We're going to have to give him all the respect in the world that we have to. We have no choice, right? You just hope that he wants to be here and that he leads this team and gets them to play well together. Managers are not on the field. Managers can't control errors. Coaching can help you avoid errors, but doesn't control errors. You just hope that when they go on losing streaks, he takes the hits like Mattingly did. Skip did. When the Marlins lost, Skip blamed himself. He never blamed a player. Don Mattingly blamed the big bats that never came through, and Avisail Garcia and Jorge Soler in 2021 and 22. 2022. You hope that this guy is more on the Skip Schumacher line. Again, Skip set a bar here, and I'm going to use that term this season. Where is Clayton McCullough on the bar that Skip set? And I hate to compare because they're probably different guys. You can just tell by the corporate smile that Clayton has in his pictures, where Skip is legit giving you his facial expressions. We'll see. We will see what type of manager he is. The details that I heard is kind of similar to Skip's deal, where it's a 2-year deal with a option at the 3rd year. It's going to be worth $1 to $3 million, depending on incentives. Skip's was about the same. They don't really announce manager salaries, but you could look them up. They're always available somewhere, or a rough estimate is. This guy's a brand new manager. He's not going to make the Craig Counsell money. You just hope he earns the money that he makes and they don't have to fire him early. You don't want to be paying 3 managers. If you look at the history of this ownership, they don't, right? This ownership didn't fire Don Mattingly when they won 64 games or 69 games, even less in 2018. They kept him throughout his contract. They extended his contract. They didn't fire him. The contract ended. With Skip Schumacher, the contract was voided. They didn't fire him. He asked for that last year to be voided, but he honored his 2-year deal, just didn't want the 3rd to be picked up. Based on the ownership, I'm going to say this guy will be here at least 2 years. You just hope that they outplay themselves. He coaches them to play together, so he earns an extension. Because I'm sick and tired of being the one and done type managers. We've been an organization for now 31 years, going into 32 seasons next year. And we unfortunately will be gone 17 managers during that 32 seasons. That's not cool. Let's hope this guy stays. My name is Chase Blake. I'm the host of #Let'sGetLouder. Again, let's thank our sponsors, intheclutch.com. In the Clutch is the sponsor. Go onto social media, like, love, comment at Loud Miami Fan. Whether you're listening, watching me make faces on YouTube here, please comment, please like, please share this podcast. I hope that many enjoy it, many like it. And let's give Clayton McCullough, and I'll pronounce his name 50 different times, the benefit of the doubt here. It's a blank canvas. I want to see who this guy is, and I want to know your thoughts. So comment, like, ping me, write me. This is hashtag Let's Get Louder. Let's frickin' go.